Yeah, so setting the standards and code of conscience. Where we're coming from with this is whether there should be a standard kind of protocol for when you want a BIM model, as it's termed, or scan to BIM, as seems to be the phrase, which I hate. It's probably more about kind of expectations, what you should be looking for from your surveyor or whoever you're getting your modelling outsourced to, or if you're doing it in-house, kind of at what levels should you be getting what detail, what to expect from that, and kind of what to ask for. It's not just to us, it's to kind of industry as a whole. So hopefully we'll kind of cover those things. Just a quick thing of kind of obviously where we're coming from. I'll get through this very quickly now. I can watch the timer. Essentially about Murphy surveys. Most of you in the room probably know kind of history, so I'll kind of touch on it. Kind of 30 years in industry, so essentially what we're saying is we know surveying. 100% accident-free. I think that's a really key one that sometimes get overlooked. I'm going to steal, in fact, an anecdote from somebody else here. I was at the Rail BIM Summit on Tuesday, and they were sharing a story about somebody who was out measuring. I think it was on Crossrail, and he was out measuring something. He was, as it was a result, he was where he shouldn't have been, but he was taking measurements and he fell. He dropped down 3 stories, legs went up, he's paralysed for life. Now, from that, when I say 100% incident-free, turns out they had a scan of that area. There was no reason for him to be up there full stop because the information was there. And it's through this kind of BIM process that, you know, it's not just about capturing the stuff, it's about sharing that knowledge. It's making sure people have that information in the right place. And I think for us, that's a really kind of key thing that we want to be a part of. We want to be, you know, sounds silly that comes under our health and safety banner, but actually it's making sure that things like that, you know, accessibility through kind of this collaboration of information is really important. Loads of surveys done, and loads of repeat clients, which obviously is really key for kind of what people expect from us, and hopefully it means we deliver a good product. Offices everywhere and will work anywhere, so don't let that put you off. If you're based somewhere that you don't think we're currently in, we will travel, is probably our phrase. Oh, there's a couple more on there. Yeah, loads of BIM models, that's what we do. So I'm going to quickly go through why working with Murphys. I'm going to skip over that. Come see us outside. And accreditations. We're based just outside at kind of the far end towards the toilet, so if you've got any questions about kind of what we cover, please, I'm going to flick through these because I really don't like that timer. Yeah, so we cover all services within the survey industry, so whatever your needs, you can see them up there. I'm not going to go through them all, but if you want thermal imaging, we'll cover it. If you want underground utilities, we'll cover it. So yeah, that's Murphy's. Okay, on to actually the presentation kind of side. Detailed information, there's a big kind of contrast with kind of what you're after when you're asking for a BIM model. Lots of BIM models that are delivered, I would say, are BIM ready. They're a 3D model, and that's essentially what you're getting. That's about the level of detail. That's when you ask your surveyor or whoever's measuring your building, what amount of information do you need there? What is the model going to be used for is really key to that. Do you need us to spend longer on site? Do you need it scanned? I mean, one of the reasons why, by chance, I'm not talking in the scan to BIM room, and I'm quite pleased about that, is scanning's not necessarily the way to go all the time. I mean, I prefer the phrase survey to BIM because I think that's what we're about, that's what we should be delivering. If you need a model that's right for one purpose, you don't need us to scan it, you don't need us to spend time processing it, and you don't need a heavier point cloud that takes longer for us to draw from. If there's, you know, you're after a basic survey of just the rooms, but you want it in 3D, we'll happily go there, measure it, MBS it up, CAD data produced on site, and we can draw it much quicker. So in asking for a survey to BIM, we may be able to, you know, get a workflow that really suits what your needs are and can actually deliver a much quicker and cheaper product to you, which obviously pleases everybody. information is about the kind of metadata and things like that that are put in, really key for asset management, for future life cycles of the building. So that's kind of where I guess the kind of, what I would say, the BIM part of the model comes in, as opposed to just BIM ready. And we'll get on to kind of the different stages of them now. I don't know how, on mine, I can't see that very well. Hopefully the text is larger on the screens up there. Essentially, this is kind of a quick guide that we use for each stage or level of detail, going across from left to right. 200, 300, 400, 500, hopefully. And as we drop down is kind of what levels you'd expect from doors, windows, staircases, things like that. So you can see what you're going to get at those levels. What level of information do you need? Are you just going to use it for floor plans? Well, let's just get a level 2 model out to you so you can start work on it straight away rather than waiting an extra week, 2 weeks for all the detail to be put into a model when actually you just want to get planning, start ordering materials, things like that. So at level 200, this is our kind of standard of what we'd include, what you should be kind of expecting. You can see on the bottom there's the point cloud, and that's above, just drawn to kind of the specifications to that, so you can kind of get a kind of gist, if you like, of what the model will look like. What are they for? So they're really great for things like rights of light models. These are the kind of ones you want to be asking for. You don't need the pretty windows of the building opposite. It's not your site. We're, again, more than happy to do that for you, but just making sure that you're getting a fit-for-purpose model. Space analysis, you can see from the image on the right there that you can still take quantity, like square footage, things like that, off it. So if you're ordering carpets, if you're designing a school and you need to make sure your square footage in the room is, I don't know what it is in Ireland, I have to say, but it's for primary schools in England, it's 54 square metres for a classroom, so you've got to make sure that you're in that. These are essentially all you need to be covering these. To take it into kind of RICS or old money, if you like, if you're taking elevations off that, what you'd expect is a kind of a 1 to 200 elevation. I know that helps a lot of people kind of in the understanding of that. If you need a tighter model, should I say, within these levels, again, ask for it and people can adapt their modelling around it. Tolerances can be brought in tighter, but just as a kind of a guide, this is what kind of we would expect it to kind of, the banner for it to deliver. At level 300, you start to get more information included. We'll touch upon information later, but you can see from the top model there that you start to get street furniture around that. And in the bottom one, you start to get window families developed for you as part of it. So your building's beginning to take a kind of a real life architectural approach, if you like. And then as we go on, for that, it's essentially a 1 to 100. The image on the top right there is actually one that's obviously quite important to us. This shows kind of the accuracy of our model. It's just a cross-section of a random model that we chose. And within the Revit file, it's just sectioned off. And in there is the architectural and the structural detailing, and we've left the point cloud in. Essentially, hopefully, you can see it's a clean line where the section is taken off. The accuracy and tolerances in there show that where the model has been cut to, where it's been drawn to against the point cloud. So hopefully it will line up. If you want a closer look, we've got it outside and you can scrutinise our work. But obviously it's something we're really happy to do at any stage within any of our models, that will just give you a cross-section so people can see exactly where the kind of things are coming from, how accurate their model is, and obviously if there's any discrepancies, then we don't want that going out the door as much as people want to receive it. Level 400, it starts to become, material properties. You can start to see the architectural features more. It's more of a showpiece, if you like. Probably not from my side. It's where it's the stage I probably lose interest. I think from 3 to 5 is the interest. I think 3 is kind of commonplace what you'd need day to day. But you can see on the image, again, top right there, when you start to get structural models, you start to get all the joints involved in there. So you can do structural analysis, you can export that into structural analysis programs. I know some people will use Revit MEP for that, but there are preferred ones out there from some of our clients. So they will export that and do their structural analysis with the joints involved. And then, yeah, great visualizations from that. These are just a couple of very quick visualizations just exported from Revit and taken about 10 minutes to start getting that kind of architectural posters, things like that for their marketing. So at this level, both of those things were exported within the same hour and created. So you're starting to get a much better product, I guess, if you want to do it for marketing. If you're changing an existing building and you are trying to get planning on that, you can use these. And 1 to 50 is our kind of standard elevation from them. Level 500, right. This is where the work gets quite detailed. In a lot of cases, it probably will be overkill. But what it's very useful for is what was just talked about in the previous thing, is about asset management. Particularly if you're handing over a building for people who may not have been aware of the construction, may not know the building. Of course, you can add any kind of asset management at any stage to any kind of family, as it's termed within Revit. But at this stage, the visualizations are really key. So somebody who doesn't know the building, somebody who may not know the system can go in, can see exactly what it is on site. So as you've got your visualization tool, you can see that there's a fan on the floor, and when you go to site, it will look exactly the same. All these models were drawn in Revit solely. They're not imported families from anywhere else. They've been drawn in-house, bespoke to specific projects. So we'll do all that in-house if people need that kind of information. Like I say, they're great for when buildings are passed on to the future owners, so they can actually get a real kind of grasp and control of kind of their costings. And yeah, so from scale-wise, you can go from scale like 1 to 20 or right down to 1 to 5. And I think these two images here show kind of the detail you can kind of go down to. So the one on the left, you can see that run of just electric cable along the roof. And the one on the right even goes to show that actually even where the tacks are holding that cable down are included. So probably not your everyday what you'd need, but modelling-wise, you can go down to any detail that you feel like you need. The importance of information. So again, this can be at any stage. So there's no need to get a level LOD 500 model done if you don't need to. The information could be included at a level 200. So the text may be a little tight on the right, but they're just screenshots of Revit pages open. You can see by the any data sets can be included, so we can add or take out any information that's specifically needed. So the one on the right is we just have selected a column, so it will give you what floor that column's on, the dimensions of that column, the height of that column. You can therefore use it for kind of materials for planning in advance. But it's also just really basic information or you can add as much complicated information from the kind of the one at the bottom. That's just a section of air conditioning units. So the pipe and manufacturer dimensions are all included down on the left. So as standard, we include the category, so whether it's a wall, a window, things like that, the position, so the floor, the height above that floor level, the size, obviously for openings, for clearance, things like that, and the type. And I mean, I've put upon request. Essentially, upon request, most survey companies will add however much information you desire. But a standard kind of request that we have are visual material appearance. We don't start drilling into your building or property. FM data for passing on to your future clients, for ordering of new boiler systems, things like that, and any other metadata that you may have. As standards now, we deliver true views with our products. So when the scan's taken place, we then we use an iStar to take photogrammetry from the same place and overlay it. With this, you can then take any measurements from it, you can leave notes on it, but you can also asset manage anything there. So where if you've gone for a level 200 model, but you've requested it to be scanned, and so we can deliver this as well. So although you may only have a box of dimensions on the wall in your basic model, you will have imagery to show you exactly what is there. So you can pick and choose. One of the key things with all of this is, we've got it. In fact, it seamlessly gone on to BIM survey solutions. So one of the key things is don't just ask for a level 200 or level 300 model. We would advise that different levels are used at different places. So you could have a level 300 exterior for planning, but a level 200 inside for just space analysis. Or we're doing a current project at the moment that even individual rooms on individual floors are all bespoke to different levels. We've sat down, we've had many meetings with the clients to see actually what they need from each specific room, which ones are they going to keep, which ones are they going to clear out, and it makes a much better process that we're not delivering more than they need, and obviously they're not paying for more than they need. I'm going to quickly bring these up because we use BIM kind of life cycle not just from a kind of scan to BIM as it's termed in the other room process. There's the kind of the BIM capture, the BIM to field, BIM audit, field to BIM, and asset management. We see the stages of surveying and BIM all the way through the process. It's not just a kind of, here's your model, there you go. We'll also go out, we use BIM for setting out back on site. We'll use point layout or other tools like that to ensure that the setting out process is also from the original scan or from your original model to make sure there's the accuracy back on site. It's not just a one-way kind of traffic. Our Skanska model, this has recently been delivered to Skanska. This is a level 500 model. One we're probably particularly proud of as well. It's been a lot of work for us, but they're using it as a kind of an exemplar data set. They are, it's their own building, and essentially what they want it for is kind of asset management and future things. So probably every single object in the building has been drawn independently within Revit, not imported from anywhere else, and everything has been asset tagged through CBG and through the MBS toolkit. And also again on TrueView, pretty much everything you can imagine is what they've wanted for it. I'm going to skip the video of it. Come and see us afterwards because I'm very time aware. And looking at the time, I'm just going to touch on one of our other case studies. Our TK Maxx stores, you may obviously have heard that we do. The reason why I just want to touch upon it is because I think the 300 plus stores shows our kind of continuity and our confidence that the clients have in us. It wasn't just a contract signed and said, can you do all our stores? It's a rolling contract that we have to go through a procurement process every 6 months with. And I think it just goes to show that, the confidence and standards in our model are kind of there. And so, we're delivering, I think, at the moment, we've got some guys out in Germany and Poland. We've just started on their stores. So they'll come back in the next couple of weeks with another 10 stores for us to model up. So time aware, I'm going to stop and open myself up to only friendly questions because it's the end of the day.
Thanks for the presentation. Just in terms of the level of detail that you produce, is that done in the office as opposed to the scan on site? The scan on site is the standard, is it?
So, I mean, as I kind of mentioned briefly, it's... So in some cases, we'll always say, we'll take a scan of the site. The advantage of doing that sometimes are that if the client says, at this stage, I just want the model to this level of detail, if we go and scan it and later on they need some more information, there's no kind of return to site. So therefore, there's no extra site costs involved at that stage. I probably have a hesitation of saying, let's scan everything. Scanning is great, it does capture all the information, but it can add processing time back in the office, just getting the scans together, getting them into the right format, indexing them into Revit. just is extra time that possibly we can cut out of the process. So not if we can MBS it, but in some cases, MBSing buildings is a preferred route. I know colleagues are here who are shaking their heads, who are saying, no, we'll scan it, because I know some of our modelers much prefer modelling from scan data. From their point of view is that they can see the complete package of exactly what's there rather than just what a surveyor on site is giving them. I think there needs to be possibly an understanding of just because we can model everything, I don't think that means we should. Don't take that out of context, because that sounds like we don't model things. But it's just a case of you can over model, and we're happy to do it. I mean, we've got guys who love doing it, and if you give them a complex project, that's the ones they want. They don't want a basic, they want the hard, interesting, historical monuments. Like they love it. It sounds a bit strange to me, but they're the ones they can kind of projects they really get their teeth in. It's something they can be proud of. So scanning data on site and good collection, as long as it's presented, I think, in the right way for the client. Giving somebody a massive PTX file, for example, does them no good whatsoever. It just drains their system. So we need to make sure if what the client asks for is what we deliver, we need to make sure that they can access the information correctly as well. Over kind of egging things can be dangerous. Does that answer? I've kind of waffled a bit, sorry.
Is there a case to be made at any point for taking a step out of the process, taking the modelling step out of the process, considering that I presume you can asset tag the point cloud itself?
You can mark up the true views, so you can do it that way. The problem with, and it may change over time, is that point cloud at the moment, Revit-wise, it's great, you can import it and see it, but you can't do much else. You have to manually draw everything in. Gravasoft, only in this release have they even introduced point cloud coming in, so they're not there yet either. So it's more of a case of you can't do anything with it. In Navisworks, for example, the clash detection means if you have, like if the structures guys bring it in to compare to the point cloud, the clash detection will flag up, if it touches a point, will flag up the whole of the point cloud. Now, hopefully, a model does touch the point cloud everywhere. So that clash detection, to me, doesn't do the right job for that. You could use it in reverse. So if you, for example, were putting an escalator into an existing hotel, and you wanted to see the space, you could scan that. You could import that into Navisworks and just do a fly-through model of moving the escalator in, and therefore if there's clash detections that come up along that route, it will flag up, and therefore you could use it that way, so rather than draw the model. But as yet, it's not intuitive enough to know where the clashes would be. So I want to say, unfortunately, it's down to modelling, but that's what we do, so I don't want to talk myself out of a job.
I just wanted to ask if you have applied the same methodology in infrastructure projects as well as building ones.
Yes, we've done a job with Heathrow on underground utilities for their de-icing programme. A lot of infrastructure projects at the moment, having been to the Rail Summit, are probably hedging their bets on what software they want to progress with is probably what I took from the day. So we, as a company, do lots of work with railways, with highways, railways for monitoring, things like that. We're involved in several of the projects in London at the moment doing that. But modelling-wise, we still do a lot of 3D modelling, but I wouldn't say it's BIM modelling is probably where it's at. And I think in case there's anybody here, I feel like they may be slower than the rest of the industry, is my dangerous phrase to use, in where they are with BIM. they're very aware of what they want to be doing now. It was very useful on Tuesday, but I think they are slightly behind, dare I say, architects, construction companies in probably what other people are talking about today. And I think they know it, but their biggest thing, I think, is the kind of collaboration and interoperability between software is probably where they're finding their biggest challenges.
Okay, I'm conscious that we've yet again run over, which is the fault of a bad chair, I'm afraid. So, can we